Alright, so in the next step of this adventure, I went out and bought some diesel biocide, and we're going to add about an ounce to this for about 10 gallons of diesel, and that's because I may fill this up all the way, so I want a full treatment in there, and plus a little bit extra is not going to hurt. So we're going to shoot for an ounce in there, and then I'm going to try and put a teaspoon in each of these old things of diesel, just on the off chance I might be able to save it, because that's about 8 gallons, something like that in total. So we're going to go for the standard shock treatment in those, and we're going to go for about double in the tank. So this shit is incredibly expensive and it smells terrible, so I'm going to put the phone down and put it in there. But just know that I'm putting an ounce in that tank, and I'm going to go buy myself 5 more gallons of diesel and fill it up tomorrow. Well, I got the diesel can filled up, and the plan is to put 4 gallons in the tank and leave a gallon in case I need to replace the fuel filter in emergency, and need to prime that first, as well as if all of this suddenly plugs up the strainer again and I need to drain all of this out. I need to have something to clean the strainer off in. I mean, I can just go refill the diesel can, but might as well just keep a gallon. Plus there was only like 6 gallons in the tank to begin with. So as long as I put more than that in there, so the plan will be about 7. As long as I do that, should be able to get above the scum line, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. As before, the radiator is leaking down there at the corner for the lower radiator hose, so I'm going to pour another gallon, half gallon back in there to get it back up where it needs to be. And I learned that this has an auxiliary coolant pump that goes to the heater core, and I bet this is borked, and that siphons off from down here at the outflow for the water pump and goes this way, back yonder, up, over, and then up to this, which I'm assuming is the climate control switch. And I'm wondering if there's a port in there that goes into the firewall or not. From what I can see, it looks like it doesn't. It comes out this way, it goes down, and it is that lower pipe down there, which comes up and over and right here into the firewall. And then it does whatever the hell it's doing in there, going through the heater core, and then there are these 2 pipes right here that come out of the firewall, and they lead into this forked pipe right here, and then back this way and over to the cylinder head. So I'm confident that circuit's not working, but that is good to know, because now I know how to flush the heater cores. I need to take that line off, and I need to take that line off, which isn't going to be fun. So instead I'll take that line off. If I do that, I think I can flush the heater core, and I can also check to see if that works or not. I'm sure it's a fuse or something, because I've never heard it run, because I put on heat and no heat comes out. So anywho, I'm just going to start pouring some water in here and hoping that all of my flush didn't drain out. I'm sure whatever I put in the block, because I filled the block first, is still in there. It looks like it's only what's in the overflow tank that came out. So anyway, I've just overfilled that, just to be safe, so that I can overpressurize the system and blow the radiator cap. And that'll account for any bubbles we have in there. And the plan today is, after I put the diesel in there, because I don't want to burn off all of my biocide immediately, I'm going to start this up and just let her get up to about 100 degrees C and then cut her off, because I gotta go to work after this, and I'm just dawdling around, and I'm trying to get as many heat cycles on this as I can with the flush in there to try and dissolve whatever is blocking that coolant passage. And if this decides that it's not going to do anything, my only other alternative is to go back in there and do everything like I did before to get the water pump out, but then instead take this guy out, this water pump housing, which is this sort of weird dogleg shaped thing that bolts right down in there to the block, I believe, with a gasket, and then that also attaches up here to the thermostat housing and all that jazz. I really don't want to mess with any of that, because that looks like a real pain in the neck and a whole lot of gaskets I've got to mess with that I don't want to mess with. So I'd rather not have to do that if at all possible. But push comes to shove, that's the only thing, is to get that out of there and see if there's just a big clod of garbage right down in there. I'm gonna keep hoping and praying that this flush is going to dissolve whatever's in there, and if I've got to run like 5 bottles of the stuff through it, so be it. I really don't want to have to put citric acid, or really don't want to have to put vinegar in here, because vinegar will eat through metal if you leave it long enough, and it turns into like a biosludge as well. Citric acid probably isn't that great at deleting rust, but it'll definitely get rid of limescale, which I don't think I have too much of a problem with in here, you know, on account of all the other horrible things that aren't limescale that I'm dealing with. So I'm gonna quit flapping my gums and start pouring some diesel and start firing this thing up. Start the glow plugs going. Get us a snort of ether. Just to be sure. And we're gonna give this glow plug 5 cycles. I did 6 last time and that seemed to work, so we're gonna give it 5 and then hope for the best. There's one. Let's start this long process of going. Alright, had 5 a couple seconds ago. Ether is sprayed, water is on the floor again. And we're gonna send it. Shit. Alright. Another 4 more glow plug cycles, I guess. I'm gonna go check and make sure the fuel system's primed. Stand by again. That's 9, and I'm gonna give her a snort of ether immediately beforehand. And the fuel system was primed. It's holding prime a lot better with the strainer cleaned. Now we're going to see if she'll fire. All right. Just needed a touch of accelerator, that was it. And once again, she's running on all cylinders right out the gate. Just a smidge of chooch. Yeah. It's a lot noisier when she's cold. Let's see, did this go down at all? Nope. I love how they just have a hole there that can fill with water for no particular reason. Well, I guess it's there for structural support, but I don't know why it needed to be open. So it is 10:18. I'm just gonna let her idle till she gets up to 100 degrees. And actually no, I'm gonna feed her the beans there until she gets up to 100 degrees, because I want that water pump moving with a lot of force so it can push whatever the hell is in the way out. And yeah, when she hits 100, I'm just gonna cut her off and let her heat soak, and then go about my day. And when I come back tonight to offload all the tools I just loaded up while I was cycling the glow plugs, I'm gonna do this again, and I'm gonna try and do this a couple more times, then do it again once the weekend comes, and then we'll drain the system and add another thing of flush. Oh hey, look at that. The fuel gauge sort of works. I think this guy is stuck, but the light, the indicator that tells you whether or not you're low or not, seems to work, because after I put all the diesel in there, it went out. But the gauge isn't moving. Probably just like the oil gauge, and the speedometer sort of, and the tachometer, and the clock. They're just rusted in place. You know, honestly, I've never checked to see if the clock works. So what does that say right now? 5:48? So we'll see if that moves. It's an absolute miracle that the temp gauge actually works. And you know, I've never actually confirmed whether or not this thing is overheating or not. I've just always assumed that the temp gauge is accurate, because you know, it gets really hot, and then it boiled water that one time, and you know, I have no coolant flow. So you know, it works. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to play at. So I'm just gonna start feeding her the beans. Let's see how responsive she is. Not very, but it is also a turboed 5-cylinder diesel. But she does get up there. I'm guessing that clutch has failed because that fan just always runs, which is a good thing because it has overheating issues, but you know, it should only be engaging whenever it's hot, and it's just always on. Let's see what that did to the temp. Thinking 50? Yeah, about 50. So I'm just gonna go back and forth between doing that and not doing that, and hope we make some progress. Is something dripping over here? Oh yeah, I ordered another one of these. Man, those things are like, oh, that's where it's leaking there. I thought it was the massive hole on the other side. But anyway, that's where the leak is. I ordered another one of those. They're like fucking $17 because there's some sort of fancy expansion cigar hose that's all sorts of bunch of German what's it. And I would just replace it with 5/8 fuel line, but I used up, or not 5/8, 5/16, but I used it all up. I may do that temporarily, but I think that'll show up by next week. Anyway, once again, I'm gonna quit talking and I'm gonna get back to hammering on this accelerator. Man, she is just smooth. Let's check the blow-by with doing that. No blow-by. Man, that's mint. Whew. A lot of chooch. Up to 60. She's warming up nicely. Now the other thing is, if I have no coolant flow, I don't know if I can really trust that thermostat. Or that's the thermostat. One of these. One of those is tells me the temperature. I don't know if I can really trust that because it's just bolted to the block. And if I have no coolant flow, then I'm probably getting hot spots back here in the block. Yeah, I've got no pressure on this. This isn't overly warm. Once again, I said I would check the cylinders to see if I've got some sort of weird, you know, one of them's weak or something like that, but because I got the turbo in there, I just can't see them. Man, I really hope I don't have to pull this thing and DQ it because of that fucking cooling system, because she is in such nice shape. Well, the engine, specifically the engine and only the engine. All right, we're up to 60. It's probably like 50 out, just ambient. And if the fan's running this whole time, and if I do have coolant flow, which assuming I don't, but then I'm also not pressurizing the system. So we'll put this back on and see if that makes a difference. We'll see if that can hold in some PSI and help cool her off. We'll see. Well, she's just about the operating temperature. Coolant level hasn't gone down. The short hose isn't leaking anymore for some reason, which is kind of worrying. I don't know if that means that there's no longer any coolant in there or what. I can hear it in here. I got some pressure. The system is pressurizing to some degree. What was the other thing I was going to say? I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, yeah. I'm having a devil of a time finding one of these accelerator linkage pivot mounts for the late models. If you know anyone who's selling one, used or new, as long as that bearing in there is still good and not doing that, hit me up. Just put that shit in the comments. I don't care if you're Russian or what, just steal my credit card. I can't find one of those, and I don't want to have to like pull that thing apart and get dimensions and measure that bearing and get that shit 3D printed or milled out of nylon or something. That sounds like a pain in the ass, and I got good money. I'm willing to pay money for one, but just nobody has them. They're not for sale anywhere. Like, hot damn, Mercedes, come on. All right, well, we're over 80, so not a good sign. I was hoping it was, you know, going to stabilize, but we're at about 85. And we're just gonna keep giving beans until I either throw a rod or she starts shedding some heat. You guys want to see something crazy? Watch this. I'm gonna feed her the beans, just watch the radiator. She's just sucking water through them veins. That radiator is junk. Holy shit. Like, hyper junk. Alright, I think she's up to 100 degrees now. Just about. She's putting out a lot more smoke than she was. I feel like some shit's burning. Probably not a good thing. I'm just gonna let her heat up a little bit more. Let me check the head, just make sure it's not scorching hot anywhere. It's really hot up at the front. About 100 something. Oh yeah, there we are. Oh, it's probably burning all that old rotten diesel off of that line. So that cylinder's probably really hot. I'm just gonna keep powering through till she hits 100. She's not gonna overheat at 100, although once again, I'm not really certain if the heat is being distributed evenly. And there we are, we're at 100, so she's gonna start boiling here shortly. So I think we're gonna shut her down. Will she die? No, what about now? Nope. She does not want to die when she's hot. Oh, hey guys, I dropped my phone. Well, now she's dead. Well, not dead, but normal dead. And yeah, we're just gonna hope that that flush does its magic. That took 15 minutes. Something in here is one. Oh, it's probably this. That's cold. I know if I take that off, it'll explode though. Something in here is whining. You can see all the water running down the radiator. Short hose isn't leaking anymore. Once again, worrying. This is quite pressurized. But anyway, we know for certain we have to get a new radiator, which is annoying because there's about 4,000 hoses attached to this thing that I don't want to have to replace. I already knew it was coming. Alright, well it's like 6:30 now, but I got her cranked up again. I figured out the secret. 5 glow plug cycles, a big snort of ether, and then crank her for about, I don't know, probably a good 7-8 seconds, and while tapping on the accelerator. So anyway, she's been running for, I don't know how many minutes, probably 2 or 3, and figure instead of just sitting here, I might as well just roll her around the house a couple of times until she gets up to temp, then park her again. So I'm gonna try and do that and make sure I get her into the right gear, which I can't see and you can't see, and I don't know why I'm pointing the camera at the gearbox. There we go. So anyway, we got her in gear. No, we're just gonna do a little night driving. And try not to blow anything up. Alrighty, just did a couple laps, and as you can see, she's getting ready to overheat again. That brake on, I guess you can't see any of this. But anyway, let me go make sure I didn't blow anything up. Muffler's making a weird noise. The passenger front brake is not happy. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Give me a sec. Anyway, let's see if anything funny's going on. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. I think that headlight went out. Yep, that headlight went out. It was just working the other day. Let's see if she's got blow-by. We got some blow-by now. Let me kill her. Well, she's sitting at 100. The brake warning light went out. Oh, no, it's just flashing. Well, she seems to be sitting at 100. I'm gonna let her sit here a little bit and see if she gets any hotter or any colder. She might have stabilized. I don't see any water boiling off. Just get low. Oh, we still got water in there, so we didn't lose anything. Water pump's not leaking. Short hose isn't really leaking. Not too much going on down there. We got a lot of blow-by now. Tone of the engine has changed. She's squeaking up at the front. I don't like that. Shouldn't really feel hot. She getting any hotter? Actually, oh, guys, I think we might have done something. I think she's stabilized at like 99. That's progress. That's a lot of progress. I think. Or the temp gauge died. One of the two. That's a jiggling. That knocked out of it? Oh, that came out of its moorings again. Any worse? Well, it's coming up a little bit now, but I think we're making progress. I think the flush is doing something. I've had it running for 11 minutes now, with a lot more effort going in. I think driving it around helps, because I think it knocks a lot of crap free. And I'm just gonna let her keep going and try not to brick it. Hey, I was about to tell you I fixed the headlight, but then it went out again. Here, watch this. There it is. Just a bad contact. Bulb is still good. If I jiggle this around, it comes back on. Or it could be that maybe the filament's bad and all I'm doing is jiggling it around and it's making contact again. It's only been a second since I shut it off before, but let's see if we're overheating now. She's definitely stabilized at 100, which is not, you know, the best temperature to stabilize at, but she's stabilizing. What was that? I could see some wafting. I don't know, the water pump should be working best with high RPM, especially with it stationary. So let's see if the blow-by went away or not. Oh, now the blow-by is really bad. So she's got a sweet spot. Could just be that she needs timing, because it could be that the timing chain is heating up and then the timing is getting worse and then we're getting blow-by. And I mean, she's got 175 on her, and I bet she's never had timing done. So that's what I'm going to pretend the issue is, and not really terrible compression. What does this say? Still stable. I'm gonna feed her the beans for a minute and see if that changes. I can smell rubber burning, which is probably not a good thing. Probably the compressor belt. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that. Temperature went down. That's good. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. The water pump is working. I just dropped the temperature about 7 degrees with that RPM dump. So we have flow. We have flow. Guys, oh, seizure. We've done it. We've made progress. All right, and what's temp say? Look at that, 95. We did it. All right, now let's see if she dies. Did you hear that? The horn works now. And the vacuum shutoff works. And all the headlights are on, and it still beeps. Well, butter my butt and call me the guy with the buttery butt. I think this old girl might have some life in her. I think all she needs now at this point is a whole shit ton of flush, maybe 700,000 flush cycles, and a new radiator. But she's not going to blow up, which means it's time to work on the brakes, because this guy was screaming. Well, it's the next day, and I fired her up, drove her to the end of the road, and then back. Oh, she's making some noises now. What's that? Where are these noises coming from? Ooh, that's not good. Why is there oil on the fan? Why is there oil there? Huh, it was not there a second ago. What is squirting around here? There's shit in there boiling, because she tried to overheat on me. She was at 120 when I parked her, and then I floored it to get it to drop down to 115 before I shut it off. I drove her to the end of the road, and before I got back, she started overheating. I don't think something's happy in the transmission. What I thought was this brake squealing is actually the transmission squealing, which is not a good sign. And I think she only grabbed second twice. I kept trying to get second, and it just did not want to. That could be the turbo cooling down. I don't know, but things are pinging and panging, and there's oil places, and I'm pretty sure the oil was me. Let me pull that cap off again and just see if it drips. I pulled that cap off to look at the camshaft and everything, and I was holding it like this while I was staring in there, so I probably just dripped oil everywhere, because that was not there when I opened the car. Oh, it's that guy. It's the turbo wastegate that's leaking. You can see she did pop the radiator cap because she got water on stuff, or that could have just been me spilling it everywhere. But she's back to not being happy, which means I'm back to not being happy. And yeah, there's really not anything I can do other than just keep going at it, keep pouring flush in there until we finally do something. Oh, it's not going to be easy though, and of course the transmission is squealing, so I don't know if the transmission's low on fluid or not. I really need to look up how to check the transmission fluid level. It's probably with the thing running and warmed up with the thing in neutral like it is with every car, and I don't know where the mark is on there. It's got a lower squiggly on there, and it's halfway below the lower squiggly in park with everything warmed up, so she could just be low on transmission fluid. I'll look into that. So anyway, my thought is that the cooling system is enough to keep up with the engine heat while the car is parked, but with the car running with the transmission engaged, there's too much load on the engine, so it's producing a lot more friction, a lot more resistance, and that's causing this thing to overheat. That's my thought, at least, because it's only overheated every single time I've done this. It's only overheated with the transmission engaged, so I think something's fucky with the transmission. Not sure what, but something. Transmission is squealing. I don't know what kind of automatic this is, so I don't know whether or not there's some sort of fucked clutch, or we're just really low on fluid, or what. Alright, well, I needed something to do today, so as a distraction, I went to go try and find a wing nut and a lock nut for the air cleaner in order to hold it down at the back on the bracket, as well as to replace the nut on top, which I could theoretically move down to the thing under the back, because I think that's where it got salvaged from. Because I'm thinking somebody lost the wing nut on top, and then they were like, fuck. So they snatched the 6mm bolt well, the 10mm M6 nut from the bottom that was holding the air cleaner onto the bracket, and stuck that on top to keep the air cleaner down, but now that vibrates because it's not supposed to keep jumping out of that thing. But anyway, I digress. I made a distraction for myself and went to Tractor Supply, and good fucking lord, I bought every single M6 nut in the entire store, which was all 4 of them, because they had one wing nut that I found stashed in the back of one of the metric hex screw drawers, and there was a 5-pack of just regular ass M6 nuts, which had already been opened, and 2 of them had been stolen out of it, that I also bought for full price, just to be able to have 2 M6 by 1 nuts. And it should not be that hard to buy hardware. Get your shit together, Tractor Supply. It's like that every single time I try and buy a fucking nut. But anyway, just to be safe, I'm going to try and make a wing nut, just to hedge my bets. Also, I'm not 100% certain that it's an M6 by 1. That's what people on the internet said, but I was only able to find one thread where anyone had the common sense to ask for the thread pitch of the wing nut. Thousands of people ask, well, not thousands, like 10 people asking for where to buy the wing nut, and not a single fucking person in any of those threads asking for what the thread pitch was, so they could just buy a standard one because they wanted Mercedes ones because Mercedes. But anyway, we're going to turn this son of a bitch into a wing nut, and we're not going to need it. But I'm going to do it anyway, so fuck you. Alright, so I filmed a second video instead of taking you along for the ride. You can go check that out. It's somewhere on there. I'm not going to link anything because I'm going to forget I have this in here. But here's a wing nut. Made that. About sucked my fucking finger into the belt sander making it. Don't wear gloves while working with belt sanders and shit like that. It'll keep you from skinning your knuckles, but then you'll just get your finger sucked in there and then ripped off. So, yeah, that fucking hurts. I can't feel my finger. But anyway, here's a wing nut, and it came out not too shabby, if I do say so myself. Shit, it's even the same height. Damn, well, not really, but anyway, not too shabby. So we're going to use that on the Mercedes, except for the fact that when I opened up my junk wing nut drawer, there was an M6 wing nut sitting in there. So all of this effort was a complete waste. And here's an M6 nut right here, so I didn't even have to buy any of that crap. So that was $2.50 down the drain. And however much time I spent making this. So awesome. Alright, other day, back out here. Just have a couple of things to do today. I was going to show you some stuff, but then my phone decided it wanted to do a system update after the camera didn't work and I had to restart it. But anyway, I've put a full gallon of water in the expansion tank. I have replaced this nut up here with a wing nut. I went in there and I checked that it turbo slop, and there's like no slop at all. And back down under here, I am putting that nut on to hold the air cleaner on, but it turns out that the other 2 mounting bolt rubber doohickeys that hold it down over here and under here are just broken off. So I'll have to buy a whole set of those and replace them, and you access them from up in here. And at the moment, I'm just trying to get this nut that I pulled off from up here onto this guy down here, and it's fighting me. And we're going to ignore it for a second. The next thing I'm going to do is just confirm that all the vacuum lines are still connected to the transmission. From what I am aware, there is a little doohickey somewhere over here that connects down into this guy that controls the shifting, because I was having shifting issues. And from what I can tell, all the vacuum lines appear to be attached in some way, shape, or form. So that's bad, because that means it's going to be something difficult and not easy. Great. I'll look at that a little more thoroughly later. But at the moment, it's looking like it's not that. The other thing I'm going to do today is check the transmission fluid level, which I have to have the engine running and warmed up, and the transmission warmed up with the car in park. So we'll do another heat cycle on the coolant, then check the transmission fluid while it's running, and then we'll cut it back down, let everything cool off, and then we'll drain the coolant back out and just see how nasty it looks. I also looked into what it takes to replace the radiator, and as I feared, those hoses down there, those smaller ones, are a transmission cooler that's built into the radiator, so you have to do an entire transmission fluid change in order to replace the radiator, which is not convenient. Thank you, Mercedes. So I'll have to drop $100 on a radiator and then $35 on transmission fluid. That's the cheapest transmission fluid I can find to be able to put the 6.5 quarts back in there. So we'll be putting that off to a slightly later date. I'll probably work on the brakes in between now and then so I can learn that I have to buy new brake hardware as well. And yeah, hopefully that transmission fluid, well, the upside of that is it gives me a very good reason to change the transmission fluid other than the screaming transmission. So we'll get that done. I'm gonna get back to tightening things, and then we'll get on to getting this bad boy running again. Alright, so I've got the air cleaner mostly out. I've still got it attached up there, and I'm going to try and keep this hood from falling on me and snapping my neck in this wind. But as you can see, these guys are not in good shape. That's the one that still has some threads on it, and it's been fucked up for a long time, as you can see by down there. Also, this one is just gone, and this one is all borked and like aftermarket. So I'm gonna have to buy a set of those. You access them and remove them from inside of here. There should be a hex head around there that you take off, and you can unscrew this out of the bottom. I think they may just go through these rubber things. I'm not certain. But I think I don't know if there's supposed to be like a stud next to it and then like a rubber mount on the other side of it. I'm not really certain. This one seems to be like that, I think, if I'm viewing that correctly. Not really sure how they mount. These seem like they're threaded to me. I'll check this with this M6 bolt. I feel like those are like threaded doohickeys, or they may just be, I think they're just there as like expanded, or they're buffers or something. I don't fucking know why they're there. But anyway, they're there and they're all messed up. Okay, yeah, the threads are still on the bottom of this and over here, so I'm wondering if this is just set up so that you can like move it back slightly if you need to. Don't know. But yeah, I'm just gonna put this back, and I guess I'll be buying those as well. Alright, well, I guess I can check the tire pressure, and then we'll get it running. I'm also now just noticing that the fuel gauge is actually working. So it's showing me the correct amount. It says I have about 5 in there, which is about what I should have in there. My second attempt to get it started, I gave it 5 glow plug cycles and a snort of ether, and then held on the accelerator and cranked it for about 10 seconds and nothing happened. So we're gonna go for it again. I think it's just cold. Fun. But fuel gauge is working. I think this is number 4. Anyway, I'm not gonna make you sit through it again. Oh, and the clock doesn't work. That is confirmed. But the horn does. Alright, number 5. Maybe you will sit through this. Fan still work? Nope, now the fan doesn't work. Neat. Come here often? Don't be shy. I won't bite. There we are. We're going to put the foot on the brake again, just for good luck. Accelerator. Alright, she's being a pain in the ass. Let's make sure we didn't lose the fuel prime. Alright, just cruising along. Probably done about 3 laps of the house. This is the noise I'm talking about. It's coming from that shifter. I can feel it in the shifter. I thought it was coming from that brake over there, but it definitely sounds like an unhappy transmission, or possibly some crap jammed in the flywheel or something like that. Something in between the engine and the drive shaft. And yeah, also I have confirmed that it does shift. It's just, I don't think, my foot is pegged right now. Well, I'm about 90% pegged. I just don't think I have enough gas to get into 3rd gear. I think that's all it is. Because I have stopped it and I can feel it shift from 1st to 2nd, and I can make it do it with low and 2nd gear on there. So, yeah. I'm gonna just do another lap or two until she gets about 90 degrees, unless she now decides she wants to stay at operating temperature. And then I'm going to pull her over and put her up on ramps. And then, actually, before I put her up on ramps, I'm gonna check the transmission fluid level. You know, actually, I think I'm gonna pull her over now, just because I don't want her getting much above operating temp, because it messes things up. I want to check the blow-by at 80 degrees, because I think the block is just overheating, and that's increasing my blow-by and reducing my compression. So we'll check on that real quick. And I do have brakes. I have some amount of brakes. I have confirmed that. Not a lot, but they're there. Alright, that's about good to me. I'm going to put her in reverse, do reverse just a little bit. Yeah, that's that squeal I'm talking about. Set her in neutral, put her in drive, drive her forward a little bit, put her in neutral, put her in reverse, neutral, put her in drive, forward a smidge, put her in park, and now pop the hood and check the transmission with the engine running. Alright, got her cleaned off. What I was told is to put it down that far, and then stick her in, pull her back out, and then check your level. And as you can see, it's like practically empty, I think. Let me try that again. Stand by. Alright, that was it. I don't know if you can see that. We're low on transmission fluid. We're probably 2 quarts low or something like that. So that's probably just the squealing. I hope and pray to Jesus that is the squealing. So I'm going to shove this bad boy back in here and see if we're overheating or not. I have a theory that it won't overheat if it's in park. And I think I'm correct, because I've been sitting there and it's still at like 98. So I think I can explain that amount of not overheating by just crud in the cooling system and the shitty, terrible radiator. This is still making that weird noise, and it's now spilling like power steering fluid out somehow. See, the blow-by isn't terrible. It's not great, but it gets worse the hotter the engine gets. So I think if I can actually get the cooling system working, the compression will stay at a tolerable amount. Or at least that's what I'm gonna lie and tell myself. And if I can ever get one of those, I can actually test to see if the transmission has all the shift points, but I am low on fluid, so I guess it's a good thing I have to do the radiator, because I'm gonna have to do the transmission fluid anyway. So, who knows? Hopefully. I don't know. I don't know if I need to drain the torque converter or anything or not. I'm just gonna let her sit here for a minute, get my ramps ready, so that I can go do something else and let it cool off. And then anyway, I need 2 hands for this, because they're gonna fight me, fucking Chinese bastards. So anyway, stay tuned. Alright, and that's where she'll sit for a hot minute. Literally a hot minute. Also, I checked all the tires, and they're all between 27 and 28, so that's good. Because I put them at about 30, I think. And, been a couple months, and it's cold now, so I think that's good. I think. Well, I'm just in here, playing around. I've got the key in the on position. I just tried to start it up, and it started up instantly, so it's just a temperature problem with this thing, so I'm assuming the glow plugs are either totally burnt out, or there's just so much carbon on them that they can't do their thing, and that's the main reason why she's not starting. But, anywho, I'm just playing around with all the electronics in here, seeing what works, and if I play with the windows, they do work, but I've got all the painter's tape on there, so it fights. The front windows work, but the rear ones do nothing. And I think they may have something to do with the mouse damage. Don't know what this does, but it rolls. This guy works. That light's burnt out, I think. That one's not. We'll see if one of these does something. I cannot roll that for the life of me. Shut that off. Wherever it was. Hazards work, but once again, I don't have any flash on the hazards, and I don't have any flash on there. I'm pretty sure that's like a little relay or something, or a fuse or something somewhere. I had that happen on the Jeep once. I think I had like a wire cut or something. So it's probably the mouse damage once again. I confirmed that all of these guys work, although I don't really know. I wonder if that just like turns on one blinker. You don't know what that does. Yeah, I'm not really certain what those do. And what else? The fan doesn't work anymore. The fan used to work, so I don't know what the hell is going on there. That may be mouse damage, once again. I feel like it was working after the mouse damage. I don't know what this does, but yeah. I think this up here is the sunroof, which I think I can hear doing something. But, you know, it's caulked in place, so it's not going to move. What this shit is. You know, still can't get the fan to work. Anyway, I wanted the fan to work so that I could test the heater core and see if there's actually flow through in it and heat. But now I've got another problem, which is that this guy doesn't work, which is annoying. Also, I did locate the auxiliary pump. It's just like right below the expansion tank. It's pretty obvious when you look for the thing with hoses attached. Alright, so she's cooled off to about maybe 80 degrees, and we're just draining the block at the moment. I haven't drained the radiator yet. It's impossible to do this without getting coolant on the ground or all over yourself, because this thing was not designed, you know, with a little funnel like a lot of cars have. So when you do something like this, it has some sort of baffle that directs it. So it just comes out wherever. And as you can see, it's crystal clear, absolutely perfect. So yeah, I think the cooling system is in great shape because there's nothing wrong with that coolant at all. And now we're going to drain the radiator. It's a lot easier to do this, by the way, with the car up on ramps. This guy is already leaking. And I'm going to let her down and see what kind of horrid abomination of liquid comes out of here. This stuff, at least, you know, stays mainly where you want it. And as you recall, this had about a half gallon of coolant, 1 bottle of flush, and like 2.5 gallons of water. And then since then, I put another 2 gallons of water in it. So there's basically no coolant or flush left in it. But it has done something, because that's not clear. And if the system was in A-OK shape, this would be clear. So the flush is working. So we're going to put another bottle of that in here after this, along with another half gallon of coolant, after I check the weather and just make sure that we're not having a cold snap. Well, I'm down here, and I very much voluntarily decided to take the lower radiator hose off, and I didn't break a hose clamp trying to tighten it. And I'm just going to look at what kind of terrible, nasty sediment is in here. Huh, less than I thought. Let's jam the old finger up in here and feel around. Ooh. Not good, but a lot less than I expected. I bet everything's just jammed in the thermostat. Don't worry about it. What about in here? Yeah, not too much. It seems the flush did most of the job, or that's most of the stuff on my arm. And I'm gonna get this one hose clamp that we have. We have some of the pain in the ass Mopar ones that you have to squeeze on, but we had one hose clamp, and it was exactly the right size. So we're just gonna stick that right back on there and pretend we didn't see anything, and get back to filling this damn cooling system back up. Alright, as with before, we're just going to pour the flush straight down the gullet, right into the water pump, so that it gets a maximum flushage. I cannot speak today. Maximum flushage. Alright, and now that we got the flush in there, I guess I'll take a quick gander, see if anything's leaking. And then we're going to pour in some coolant. Looking good so far. Pour in half a gallon of coolant, just as a slight freeze safeguard. Don't know if I'm going to be able to do this one-handed. Probably not. And yeah, no, I'm not. So I'm going to pour that down the gullet, and then hook that back up, and then we're going to fill it through the expansion tank with water. Here's the coolant that came out, and I want you to remember that there's probably a quart of antifreeze and the rest of it is just straight up tap water. And this is what we pulled out after one bottle of flush. As you can see, there's a slight oily sheen to this one, but not this one. This came out of the radiator, this came out of the block, and the reason why there's oil on this is because the whole bottom of the engine is covered in diesel because of the leaking primer pump and leaking return line. So, you know, and it probably also has an oil leak. So just don't be worried about that, it's not a lot. I'm going to try and pour this off and see what kind of sediment we got in the bottom of this. And then we'll try and do the same in the opposite direction. So this is what came out of the radiator, which we already had a lot of chunks come out of. Fair bit of sediment. Nothing particularly crazy, but you know, more of those weird, like, jellified pieces of antifreeze, and more chunks of rust. Here's what came out of the engine block. Not as much as I was expecting. A lot of that's probably dirt coming off of the bottom of the engine as well. Let's see if we can witness the cheech. It's not black smoke, a lot of white smoke, so we're not burning all the fuel. But that doesn't overheat her, although she's just always overheating. Still smells like burnt oil or burnt rubber all the time. Oh, hey, that's new. That thing is really gone. I need to stop driving it. But we're just gonna let her sit here till she gets up to 100 again, then kill her. And well, she's already up to 100. It's eating up pretty good. That's all I'm doing today. Took way longer than I wanted to.